When Professor Chen spoke the impossible language DR, Alina Chen pressed her ear closer to the crystal formation, her breath fogging the cold surface of the artifact chamber aboard Europa Research Station. The ice moon's perpetual twilight cast long shadows through the reinforced windows. But Elena's attention was completely focused on the strange humming sound coming from within the crystalline structure. "Computer, record audio analysis session 47, she whispered, adjusting the sensitive microphones surrounding the artifact. The crystal was unlike anything humanity had ever discovered during their expansion into the outer solar system, found buried 3 kilometers beneath Europa's frozen surface. It pulsed with an internal light that seemed to respond to sound waves. Alina had been studying the artifact for 6 months, and she was certain it was trying to communicate. The patterns were too complex, too deliberate to be random. As Earth's leading expert in linguistics, she had decoded 17 different alien languages since first contact with the Galactic Council 20 years ago. But this crystal spoke in frequencies that predated every known civilization. "The harmonic sequences suggest a tonal language system," she murmured into her recorder. "Pitch variations indicate emotional or contextual meaning. The base frequency is ... Wait." Alina frowned, checking her instruments. The crystal's internal light was growing brighter, pulsing in rhythm with her voice. She leaned closer, speaking directly to the artifact. "Can you understand me?" The crystal's response was immediate and startling. The humming transformed into a complex series of tones that seemed to form words, though in no language Alina recognized. She quickly activated the translation matrix, but the computer's response was troubling. Language pattern unrecognized. Frequency matches extinct Cephrian dialect. Warning: Cephrian language classified as forbidden under Galactic Treaty 847. Elena's hands trembled as she read the display. The Zephyrians were legends, a civilization so ancient that most species considered them myths. According to galactic history, they had vanished over 50,000 years ago, leaving behind only ruins and warnings from other species to never attempt to decode their language. Why would a language be forbidden? Alina wondered aloud. She had never encountered such a restriction in all her years of xenolinguistic research. The crystal pulsed again, and this time Alina could swear she heard actual words forming in the strange tones. Without thinking, she began to mimic the sounds, her trained ear picking up the subtle variations in pitch and rhythm. "Zethera, Null Cassandra," she whispered, the alien words flowing surprisingly naturally from her lips. The moment the words left her mouth, everything changed. The crystal erupted in brilliant light, and every piece of equipment in the chamber began screaming alarms. Alina stumbled backward as the artifact rose from its containment field, hovering in the air while emitting a sound that seemed to bypass her ears and resonate directly in her bones. "Emergency protocols activated," the station's AI announced. "Unknown energy signature detected. All personnel report to emergency stations." But Alina couldn't move. The crystal was speaking to her, and somehow, impossibly, she understood every word. "Child of the lost bloodline," the crystal said, its voice now clearly audible, "you have awakened the ancient call. The silent frequency has been restored. The children of Zephyria stir once more. Across the solar system, dormant structures that had lain hidden for millennia began to respond. On Ganymede, a research team drilling for water ice suddenly found their equipment detecting massive metallic structures shifting beneath the moon's surface. Mars orbital stations picked up energy signatures emanating from the polar ice caps, where no human settlements existed. But it was the Galactic Council's emergency session that revealed the true magnitude of what Alina had unleashed. Zixtera, the eldest member of the council and one of the few beings old enough to remember the old warnings, stood before the assembled representatives with fear in her ancient eyes. "The dead language has been spoken," she announced, her voice carrying the weight of millennia. "Sensors across 17 sectors have detected the Zephyrian awakening frequency. After 50,000 years of silence, someone has spoken the words that should never be spoken." The council chamber erupted in panic. Species that had never shown fear began demanding immediate military action. The Drachnary ambassador, his scales darkening with anger, slammed his clawed hand on the speaking podium. "This is why we warned the humans not to explore the deep archaeological sites," he roared. "Their curiosity has doomed us all. The Zephyr must not be allowed to return." "What exactly are the Zephyrians?" asked Ambassador Sarah Williams, Earth's representative to the Council. She had been pulled from her quarters in the middle of the night cycle for this emergency session, and the fear in the chamber was palpable. Zixtera's expression grew grim. The Zephyrians were the galaxy's first great civilization. They built an empire that spanned 1,000 systems, and their technology was so advanced it seemed like magic to those who encountered it. They could manipulate matter with their voices, command fleets with spoken words, and their ships could travel between stars in moments. "That sounds ... beneficial," Sarah said cautiously. "Why is everyone so afraid?" "Because they didn't just disappear," Zixtera replied. "They went into hiding. Something was coming. Something so terrible that the most powerful civilization in galactic history chose to vanish rather than face it. And according to the old texts, they swore to return only when the galaxy faced its darkest hour." Back on Europa, Alina was experiencing something that defied scientific explanation as she continued speaking the Zephyrian language. Memories that weren't her own began flooding her mind. She saw vast cities floating among the stars, witnessed fleets of ships that moved like living things, and felt the weight of an ancient responsibility settling on her shoulders. "The memories are returning," the crystal said, its voice now gentler, almost familiar. "You are not just human, child. Your species carries the genetic legacy of our people. When we entered the Great Hiding, some of our number chose to remain behind, to live simple lives and wait for the day when the galaxy would need us again." Elena's legs gave out, and she collapsed into a chair, her mind reeling. "Are you saying that humans are descended from Zephyrians?" "Not descended," the crystal corrected. "Humans are Zephyrians. Your people are the children we left behind, the sleeping guardians who would awaken when the call came. And now Alina Chen, last daughter of the Zephyrian bloodline, that call has been sounded." Through the chamber's windows, Alina could see lights appearing across Europa's surface, emerging from beneath the ice. Structures of impossible beauty and complexity were rising from locations that had been scanned and explored dozens of times, but had revealed nothing unusual. "The hidden cities are awakening," the crystal continued. "Across the galaxy, our ships are stirring, our weapons are powering up, our people are remembering who they truly are." Elena's communication device crackled to life. It was Admiral Torres from Earth Command, his voice tight with barely controlled panic. "Dr. Chen, we need you to stop whatever you're doing immediately. We're detecting massive energy signatures throughout the solar system. Something is rising from beneath Ganymede, Titan, and both Martian polar caps. The Galactic Council is demanding we turn you over to them immediately." Alina looked at the crystal, which pulsed with warm light. "I can't stop it, Admiral. This isn't something I'm doing. This is something I am." As if to emphasize her words, the station shuddered as something massive broke through Europa's surface. Nearby, through the windows, Alina could see the sleek curve of a ship emerging from the ice, its hull glowing with the same internal light as the crystal. "The fleet remembers," the crystal said. "The Zephyrian ships are answering the call. But Alina, you must understand, we did not go into hiding for our own safety. We hid because something was coming, something that feeds on life itself. And now, after 50,000 years of slumber, it stirs once more." Alina felt the weight of cosmic responsibility settling on her shoulders. She was no longer just a linguist studying ancient artifacts. She was the key to awakening an ancient civilization, and with it, the power to face whatever darkness had once forced the mighty Zephyrians into hiding. "What do I do?" she asked the crystal. "You speak the words that will awaken our people fully." It replied, "You take command of the fleet that has slept beneath the ice and stone of 100 worlds, and you prepare for the return of the void servants, the devourers of worlds, the enemy that even we could not defeat with force alone." Alina stood up, feeling strength flowing through her that she had never possessed before. Outside, more ships were emerging from Europa's surface, and she could see similar lights appearing on the distant moons of Jupiter. The hidden fleet of the Zephyrians was awakening after 50 millennia of sleep. "Then let's wake them up properly," Alina said, her voice carrying new authority. She turned to the crystal and spoke the words that came to her mind as if she had always known them. Asterisk. Zephyriothel, Nas, Kelathon, Veltar, Null, Kas, Sanarafesik, Kolan. The translation appeared in her mind as she spoke. Zephyria rises again. The long sleep ends. The guardians return to their duty. Across the galaxy, ancient mechanisms responded to her words. The sleeping giants were waking up, and with them, the hope that the galaxy might survive what was coming. Asterisk, the last children of Zephyria, rise again. The Galactic Council's emergency fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system, just as the last of the Zephyrian ships broke free from their hiding places. Admiral Torres stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, watching in awe as vessels of impossible beauty emerged from locations throughout the solar system. From Ganymede's depths came massive dreadnoughts, their hulls flowing like liquid metal. Mars disgorged sleek destroyers that seemed to be made of crystallized starlight. Even Earth's own moon revealed hidden bays that had been concealed for millennia, releasing ships that moved with the grace of living creatures. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving transmissions from the Galactic Council fleet. They're demanding we surrender Dr. Chen immediately, or they'll consider it an act of war." Torres gripped the command rail, his knuckles white. In the past 24 hours, his understanding of humanity's place in the galaxy had been completely shattered. The woman who had been Earth's leading expert in alien languages had revealed herself to be something far more significant. "Patch me through to Dr. Chen," he ordered. Elena's voice came through clearly, though she was broadcasting from the command center of a Zephyrian flagship that had emerged from beneath Europa. "I'm here, Admiral. Elena, I need you to explain. What's happening? The Council is calling this an invasion force." "It's not an invasion, Admiral. It's a homecoming." Elena's voice carried new authority, but Torres could still hear the woman he had known for years underneath the power. "The Zephyrians never left, Admiral. They became us. Humanity isn't just another species that developed intelligence. We're the children of the galaxy's first great civilization." On the bridge of the Council flagship, Zixthera watched the tactical display with growing dread. Hundreds of Zephyrian vessels were taking position throughout the Sol system, their energy signatures off the charts. After 50,000 years, the sleeping giants had awakened. "Status report," she commanded. 734 Zephyrian vessels detected and still rising, her tactical officer reported. "Energy output exceeds our combined fleet capacity by a factor of 12. They're not hostile, but they're clearly defensive." "Of course they're defensive," Zixtera muttered. "They think we're the enemy." Ambassador Williams, who had been brought aboard the Council flagship as a liaison, stepped forward. "With respect, Counselor, are you the enemy? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're preparing to attack my home system." Zixthera's ancient eyes fixed on the human diplomat. "You don't understand what you've awakened, Ambassador. The Zephyrians didn't go into hiding because they were afraid of us. They hid because something else was coming. Something that makes our entire civilization look like children playing with toys. Then maybe it's time you told us what that something is," Williams replied. Before Zixthera could answer, every sensor in both fleets screamed simultaneously. The space between stars began to ripple, and dark shapes emerged from the void itself. They were massive, organic-looking things that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. As they appeared, the temperature in both fleets' ships dropped noticeably. "Void servants," Zixtara whispered, her voice filled with ancient terror. "They've found us." Aboard the Zephyrian flagship, Alina felt the familiar presence of the crystal artifact, which had somehow integrated itself into the ship's systems. "The old enemy returns," it told her. "The void servants have awakened from their own slumber. They feed on life energy, on the very essence of living worlds. 50,000 years ago, they consumed a third of the galaxy before we found a way to stop them." "How did you stop them?" Alina asked, though part of her already knew the answer. "We didn't stop them with weapons," the crystal replied. "We stopped them with sacrifice." The Zephyrian fleet formed a barrier around their feeding grounds and sang the song of binding, trapping them in a pocket dimension. But the song required the life force of our entire civilization to maintain. We had to give up our physical forms to keep the prison intact. Alina felt tears streaming down her face as the memories flooded back. "But some of you stayed behind. The youngest, the strongest, those who could carry the genetic memory forward. They seeded worlds with life. They guided evolution. They waited for the day when the galaxy would be strong enough to face the void servants again. And when that day came, they would be ready to sing the song once more. The binding is failing," Alina realized. "That's why they're returning now. Yes, the prison has weakened over the millennia. The void servants have been testing the barriers, and now they're breaking free. The galaxy has perhaps days before they begin feeding again." Alina looked at the tactical display, where the dark shapes were moving toward populated systems. The Galactic Council fleet was forming up to meet them, but she could see it would be a massacre. Conventional weapons had no effect on creatures that existed partially outside normal space-time. "What do I need to do?" she asked. "You need to sing the song," the crystal replied. "But Alina, you must understand. The song requires the life force of everyone who carries Zephyrian genetics. Every human in the galaxy will need to contribute their life energy to rebuild the prison." Alina's blood ran cold. "You're asking me to sacrifice my entire species. I'm asking you to choose," the crystal said gently. "Sacrifice humanity to save the galaxy, or watch as the void servants consume everything that lives. It's the same choice we faced 50,000 years ago." Alina closed her eyes, feeling the weight of billions of lives on her shoulders. But then she remembered something the crystal had said earlier. The Zephyrians hadn't just been powerful because of their technology. They had been powerful because they worked together. There's another way, she said suddenly. The Zephyrians weren't the only intelligent species in the galaxy 50,000 years ago. They had allies, partners, other civilizations that helped them. Yes, but they were not strong enough to contribute to the song. They weren't strong enough then, Alina agreed. But they've had 50,000 years to grow, to evolve, to become more than they were. The Galactic Council represents dozens of species, billions of individuals. What if we didn't have to do this alone? The crystal pulsed with something that felt like hope. You're suggesting a combined effort, Zephyrian genetics to anchor the song, but life energy from every species in the galaxy to power it. I'm suggesting that maybe the reason the Zephyrians were allowed to have children, to pass on their genetics, wasn't just to preserve their power. Maybe it was to create a bridge between them and the rest of the galaxy. Alina opened her eyes and activated the communication system. This is Dr. Alina Chen, to all vessels, both human and Galactic Council. I'm transmitting coordinates for a rendezvous. We need to talk, and we need to do it fast. 2 hours later, representatives from every species in the galaxy gathered in the cargo bay of the largest Zephyrian vessel. Alina stood before them, no longer just a human linguist, but the living embodiment of 50,000 years of genetic memory and responsibility. The Void Servants feed on life energy, she began. They can't be destroyed by conventional weapons because they exist partially outside our reality. The only way to stop them is to create a prison of pure life force, a barrier they cannot cross. And this requires our cooperation. How? Asked the Draknari ambassador, his scales still dark with suspicion. Alina gestured to the viewing screen, where the dark shapes were moving closer to inhabited systems. Because humanity alone isn't enough. We have the genetic templates to create the prison, but we need the life energy of every species in the galaxy to power it. Not to death, she added quickly, seeing the fear in their eyes. But everyone will need to contribute a portion of their life force. What you're asking is unprecedented, Zixthera said. No species has ever willingly shared their life energy with another. Then maybe it's time we started, Alina replied. The Zephyrians tried to protect the galaxy alone, and it cost them everything. But we don't have to make the same mistake. We can do this together. Ambassador Williams stepped forward. On behalf of Earth, I agree. Humanity will contribute whatever is needed. One by one, the other ambassadors agreed. The Draknari, the Zentari, the Collective, even the normally isolationist Vorth agreed to participate. As they spoke their agreement, Alina felt the Zephyrian ships responding, their crystals beginning to resonate with the combined life force of the assembled species. Then let's begin, Alina said. Everyone join hands. Every species, every individual, all of us together. As the circle formed, Alina began to sing the ancient song of binding. But this time, she wasn't singing alone. Voices from a dozen species joined her, each adding their own unique harmonic to the growing symphony. Outside the ship, the Void Servants had reached the outer planets. But as they approached, they encountered something they had never faced before. Not just the power of the Zephyrians, but the combined will of an entire galaxy united in purpose. The prison formed not as a barrier, but as a transformation. The Void Servants found themselves changed, their hunger for destruction replaced with a desire to create. The dark shapes began to glow with inner light, and instead of consuming the planets they touched, They began to seed them with new forms of life. Alina felt the change rippling through the galaxy. The ancient enemy had become an ally, and the crisis that had threatened everything had become an opportunity for unprecedented cooperation. "It's done," she said, her voice hoarse from singing. "The threat is ended." But as she looked around the circle of joined hands, she realized that something even more important had been accomplished. For the first time in galactic history, every species was truly united. The barriers between them had been dissolved, and in their place was a new understanding of what they could accomplish together. The Zephyrian ships began to fade, their purpose fulfilled. But Alina remained, no longer just human, no longer just Zephyrian, but something new. She was the bridge between the old galaxy and the new, the living symbol of what could be achieved when beings chose cooperation over conflict. "What happens now?" Admiral Torres asked. Alina smiled, feeling the weight of ancient responsibility lifting from her shoulders and being replaced by something lighter but no less important. "Now we build something new, not just a galactic council, but a true galactic family. The Zephyrians are gone, but their children remain. All of us working together." As the ships dispersed to carry the news throughout the galaxy, Alina stood at the viewing port of the human flagship, watching the transformed void servants spreading new life among the stars. The galaxy had faced its darkest hour and emerged, stronger than ever before. The silent frequency had been broken, and in its place was a new song, the song of a galaxy united. Asterisk.